And welcome, everybody. Between Two Wheels podcast. This is Tyler Yonke. Today we went Formigal Huesca la Migia. I don't know how to the Col du Tourmalet, 134.7 kilometers. It was a barn burner. We expected fireworks. We got explosions, some good, some not so good. But we'll break it all down right after the Tour de France intro.
Massive number of people have been upgrading. Yes,
there you go. You see the graceful limb that you were talking about before.
The race we've got yet again, and a victor then goes victory to an American, Andy Hampton.
The felt it go by. He looks at the Colombian rider. How are you doing?
Straight past Santiago Patero, and he's coming up to Pantani.
Armstrong is sitting in the last few hundred meters as we come towards the finish of this monumental stage. And
as we start to approach the line now, Pantani grits his teeth and accelerates and over the line.
Is going now to win stage number 15. Sepp Kuss, an emotional finish from Durango in the USA. Sepp Kuss wins.
We are back. Another edition from my office. It's Friday. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I had to do a show. This is ridiculous. Look, the Vuelta just blew up, as my friend Brian, or our friend, let's call him that, Brian Zimney said. This is September, SEPP, two P's. And it's going exceptionally well. So I thought we'd take a look at this one again today. Look, I was going to just throw this video, but before I do that, let me bring up the actual standings going into. Oh, we don't want to see this yet, do we? That's that's. Let me remove this. It's not a surprise here. What happened? You guys probably already watched this, or I doubt this is going to be your swan song as far as what you're just finding out today. This was yesterday. Milano wins, and we have the GC here. Let's take a quick look at here to make sure that we're all well and understood to what the situation is going into today. Sepp Kuss, 26 seconds over Marc Soler. Now, what did I tell you about Marc Soler? I saw him struggle on stage 6 to hold Sepp Kuss's wheel. That's where he loses 40-some seconds that day. So he wasn't quite there, and he hasn't been the rider that you would expect of the Sepp Kusses. It's not like you've seen. Marc Soler gets his bona fides from leading Pogacar. He's done a good job of that. But other than that, he's a stage hunter. He's a guy that's gone up there in the lead and got some good victories from that. But he's not a rider that just contends day in and day out with the top. There's some problems he's had, and so what do I expect from him today? I told you I expected him to falter a bit. Remco Evenepoel in third place here at 109. He is the big threat. We all know that. Puts in a good time trial. But what has happened to him? He won the Vuelta last year, but he then goes to the Giro this year. He was in the Giro the year before that. Let's just talk about that real quick. And he was fighting and battling there with João Almeida, his teammate. And then Almeida ends up getting the better of him. I think then he went the next. Anyway, he's had some troubles. He looks good, and then he blows up. And so I said coming into this, and we saw that in the Giro. I mean, it's too bad. I don't like to see the blow up when you have sickness. He got COVID. He got kicked out. He might have been actually able to ride well enough, even with COVID. I don't know how bad it was. Now, he comes into this stage, and what did I say yesterday? I go, you're either going to see him winning, I think, or losing. Like, oh, Tyler, you're really going on a limb. No, I meant like losing big time. So I predicted Remco or primos to be winning, but you don't know how the strategy is going to be playing out. So you have those guys. Lenny Martinez is up here. Roglic at 132. Almeida at 216. Vingegaard at 222. Ayuso 225. Moss 250. Vlasic 314. Landa 321. Already these guys are down their way. Hugh Carthy went now. Hugh's got was 2020. Hugh Carthy was third overall in the Giro and the Vuelta. I don't see that happening this year. He would have to get up in a break of 10 minutes and then come back. And the reason being is he lost a good amount of time with Sepp on that stage 6 as well. So it's just it's not boding well for that kind of situation. Okay, so let's go to the highlights for today. And I don't know if you guys woke up and watched this whole thing as I did. I didn't watch the whole thing. Whoops. Okay, it's now it's got. Let's just go through this. I didn't watch the whole thing. I did get up this morning, and this is went to Nate Bargatze's. There we go. And I watched most of this race today. I got up a little early, saw what was happening, and by the time I started watching it, then all hell was breaking loose. So we've got a big stage here. We'd have to add it to the screen. Man, it's add to stage. There we go. Okay, full screen this thing up here. Tourmalet. It's Tour de France type of stuff. So that's also one of the issues. I mentioned that you're not going to see it's a Tour de France style of race today. So you're going to see maybe Sepp Kuss, who can do tour stages over and over, those heavy duty things. That's not a problem. But with all the racing he's done this year, maybe that's going to start being a problem. Then Remco, he's the one that I think is more susceptible to possibly some of this than the others. So we'll see. So here's the actual stage. We talked about this yesterday. It starts in Formigal. We talked about how 2016 had an issue there with Chris Froome. A little bit different today, but kind of the similar as far as starting off just right out of the blocks. You did see people warming up on the trainers there. I think that was Utrecht or one of those guys warming up, or maybe it was Vlasov warming up on the trainer, because it starts right out of the blocks, goes straight up, then comes down, then goes back up again to the Bisque, the ExSEPPtional category, has a little pop in there, right back down, then up to the Spandales. I think that was in last year's Tour de France. And then up to Tourmalet, the big beast. They didn't always finish there. You usually go over the top and finish out somewhere else. But this year they're finishing up to the top there. So it was going to be brutal. And what did I say yesterday? The big fear is Remco destroying the kind of Sepp Kuss, in my opinion, and then everyone's chasing after him, and maybe Sepp gets petered out. So I was like, the best thing to do for Remco against him is to try to isolate him and his team. Little did I know that was going to happen right off the blocks. They went up this thing, and next thing you know, João Almeida here is having trouble on the back. So what does Jumbo do? They just go to the front. They start pushing hard. And next thing you know, 80-some kilometers here, here's Remco having trouble as well, and his whole team is with him. So he got isolated big time right away, and evidently he was having a bad day. The word from all the commentators was, I mean, what do you expect? You're going one of the best guys. He's looked just fine. You haven't seen any problems, so far. And then you see him can't even holding on to just the minimal types of riders here. That seems to be a health issue. But his team comes out, and we'll probably get better confirmation later today that they said, no, he wasn't sick. You have bad legs. You have bad legs that bad. You have bad legs to the point of losing, which we do here, 27 minutes. When you won the race last year, and you're no slouch, world champion. So former world champion, must say. Won, the Liège. It seems odd. So he was having trouble. He was fighting. João Almeida was fighting too. João said he didn't feel well. He was a little bit sick, and he at least was with the group there and then fought his way. And for miles on end, or kilometers, whatever you want to say, he was just a minute or so behind. Attila Valter, I think one of those guys had a mechanical for Jumbo. He came back. Remember, I said yesterday, maybe you take off on the Bisque here and the Spandales before the Bisque, and you Jumbo pushes it to the point where maybe you only have 4 or 5 riders yourself, but you've narrowed everyone down. That's literally what happened, but it wasn't by them. It was just attrition. It just was a tough day. It was a warm day. I saw Sepp pouring water over himself. He took care of himself, always up in the front. Here you can see a picture with 55K to go. You've got Kelderman, Hessink, then Jonas, then Sepp, then Roglic. And then on their wheels, you've got Soler, you've got Ayuso, and then you have Enric Mas. I think Rubio is in there for Movistar as well. You have, this is Michael Storer. He's up there. And then some, at one point you had Landa, you had Caruso trying to take off. And next thing you know, Vingegaard and Sepp Kuss are right on their wheels. They weren't letting them go anywhere. And you could just tell Sepp was just dancing on the pedals today, as they say, and it looked fantastic. Coming over, I think there's the Bisque as a special category climb. Michael Storer, the Australian, pushed ahead with 1.5K to go. He ended up getting full points. He got a ton of points today, so he moved himself up on the King of the Mountains jersey just fine. I think he got the Spandeles and the Bisque, because the brakes just weren't materializing. Coming down, you had separation even coming down some of these climbs at times where Sepp Kuss is always the guy rode on the front as he should be, but yet and stayed out of trouble. And it was really fantastic to see. Honestly, then you come into this, and Hessink had been at distance. He comes back and he sets a torrid pace at the climb. Now it's not torrid necessarily, but it's just constant. And the Tourmalet is long climb. And then you had him and Kelderman, and then Kelderman just goes there. And so the big question at this point, before we get there, Michael Storer tried to kind of make a move. Before we get to 8 kilometers to go with action finally hit off there, that's when Kelderman pulled off. The question was going to be at this point, you have Jal made it out. Okay, he's a guy that can really cause probably some damage. Early on in the stage, you had Geraint Thomas trying to go up the road. He got an early break, and then he got spit through the group. So he's not there to cause problems. Obviously, Remco's not there to cause a lot of problems. That's a guy you'd be worried about a lot because he's got a kick and he can just motor up these climbs. So now I'm watching this and I'm like, okay, you've got Enric Mas. I don't think he's going to outclimb Sepp. You've got Ayuso. I don't think he's going to outclimb Sepp. The only riders you're worried about outclimbing Sepp Kuss at this point are Vingegaard and Roglic. And suddenly I'm like, maybe it would be better by the way, I am specifically wanting Sepp Kuss to win this race. That's a complete bias. If you're looking at just from team tactics, you take the picture of the rider and you just have an NPC, a non-player character, a blank face, you don't care, and you're using them as pawns on the board to try to get him. And with that in mind, I think what they did, Jumbo here, was a perfectly good thing. Now, I've also said, coming in here, I think Roglic is firing on all cylinders. He did a really good time trial, especially for him. I mean, he lost a little bit of time. He lost a little time to Remco, who's not really out there anymore. But also, Roglic does better on those little punchy time trial type of things, as we've seen. Not so much except for Planche de Belfi in 2020, but the time trial he did, someone broke it down and they were saying for speed wise, certain over 50 kilometers, he hasn't been doing very well, but under that, when the average speed is lower, that's when he gets his great time trial results. And this was an over 50 kilometer an hour time trial that he did. So he kind of overshot himself as far as great performance. I think he's riding well. I think Sepp is saying, I feel better than I have in the Giro and the Tour. We saw what he did there. Now, Vingegaard, you saw what he did in the time trial at the Tour de France. He's not where he was then. And you can tell also on the climbs, he had to fight back up on stage 6 to get back up to Roglic. So he's just not quite there. And then we're watching him today. 8 kilometers to go. Jonas attacks. And right away on his wheel is Ayuso. And then with him is Enric Mas. Now, I was texting with Chris and Kurt this morning. Kurt wasn't responding, but Chris did. And I'm like, I don't think Soler is looking good. You can tell he was bobbling a bit, having a little bit of trouble. Like Lenny Martinez was up there in this group for FDJ, and he kept winning in and out. So he didn't have as great a day. 20-year-old, no big deal. So up the road goes Vingegaard. He attacks. Ayuso gets on his wheel. Sepp Kuss follows quickly with some others, with Enric Mas. At 7.2, they brought him back, and then it kind of all just came together. But during that time, you also saw, so like I said, Soler was having some issues. 7.2, Vingegaard takes off again, and this time he's not going to be seen at all. So he immediately is up the road. And then the thing you have behind is the situation. This is where I'm like, okay, I wish Remco was here. At least you'd pull. You want them to chase, but I also don't want Vingegaard to go up the road and get, because you don't want. I didn't want him to go up the road, get a bunch of time, and threaten Sepp Kuss. So from Sepp Kuss's point of view, who looked snappy and very good today, you're like, oh, look, the race is going up the road. I feel really good, but I can't go up there because I might just drag everybody along. So you've got to play this tactical game. And the other person playing this same tactical game is Roglic. And he's looking good. Now, as this whole thing plays out, I think this was the strategy to use, and I'll explain why in a tad bit. So Enric Mas tries to go up the road. Sepp Kuss goes with him. Then Sepp Kuss goes over the top, actually, and attacks. It didn't look super good because they were trying to pull everyone back. Ayuso, Kian, Utrecht was also pulling there for Bora. Roglic did the team thing, never got on the front, didn't have a problem. So they bring Sepp back, and so then it's just a weird thing. It's them sitting across the road, and the time gap is going 30, 40, up to Vingegaard, 50 seconds. I don't know if I saw it hit a minute, but it was right at 59 at one point, and I'm just like, I mean, next thing you know, he's going to have the yellow jersey in his, or the red jersey, and we're going to be sitting in a situation where we're not looking so great. What was interesting, though, is then there was some splitting up here. Enric Mas, they're like sitting up. Utrecht is trying to pull. Ayuso's trying to pull. Mas is trying to pull. But they were kind of going at these hard paces where they weren't just – I mean, this is where João Almeida actually would have come in to help a lot for his team today if he was feeling well, because he is just a diesel. And he will get on the front and or wherever he's at. Sometimes it's off the back, then it's back up to the front. I've seen him go from getting dropped to almost winning a stage, like it was the Giro, the Tour. I mean, where he just like blows through and he just has his pace. He wasn't able to do that today, but that would have been somewhat helpful. You saw Landa getting dropped here, and then at 1.2 kilometers to go of where Jonas is. Look at this, 58 seconds to go here. Sepp Kuss is probably 1.5 kilometers out because he's a few behind. A little bit more. He tries to, and let's just play this a little bit here. He tries to attack up the side. He hits a spectator, and here we go. So let's go here. He comes from way back. He just flies up. He sees the spectator who's dicking around on the side there. I think he shoulders him, gets him out of the way, then has to re-kick again, and he's gone as well. He does a nice job getting a distance up the road, though. You got Vingegaard, because it gets real steep in the last 2 kilometers. Vingegaard comes across the line, 3 hours, 51 minutes, and 9 seconds for a victory. But shortly thereafter is Sepp Kuss. Remember, when he attacked there, he was at 58, 59 seconds. He closes it all the way down inside around 22 seconds here. He comes across the line right at the 30 mark. Inside that, but then right behind him is Roglic. So Roglic ended up jumping out from that back group. The problem you see there, though, is with just a few more seconds behind is Ayuso, Utrecht, and Enric Mas. This is a cute little scene at the end there. Sepp Kuss finally gets to play with the big boys. He's giving a big hug to Jonas, and then also comes up behind him is Roglic, and they all do a little bit of a hug. Coming in a little bit later, what do we had here? See if there's a time clock. 1:08, it looks like, Marc Soler. So he loses some time. We'll break that whole thing down. And João Almeida comes in later, along with Lenny Martinez. And 27 minutes is Remco Evenepoel for on the day. There you go. Jonas Vingegaard wins it. And 30 seconds back is Sepp Kuss. There were some time bonuses taking place. That's why it's 30. Then he gets 3 seconds, Sepp does on Roglic. Back 33, 38 Ayuso, Utrecht at 38, Enric Mas 40, 115 Landa, 212 Vlasov, Kras for total energy, 232, and Marc Soler losing 308. So about 2.5 minutes on Sepp Kuss. And let's see if we can look. Sepp, very happy. 137 now over Roglic, who bopped up into second place, or stayed ahead of Vingegaard, but moved into second. Vingegaard at 144, Ayuso 237. So 1, 2, and 3 for Jumbo. Ayuso, by the way, he speaks English very well. He grew up first 6 years, I think, of his life in Florida. So when you hear him talk, he barely has a Spanish accent. He's a young guy as well. Pretty impressive. Moss, Soler, Landa, Vlasov, Utrecht, and Almeida came in, still holding in the top 10. So you still have 3 UAD. You still have 3 Jumbo Visma. There's how many? 1, 2, and 3. Good smattering of Spanish guys here in the middle. So Soler, Landa, Moss, Ayuso, Vlasov. They don't put a flag up because he's from Russia, and we're not allowed to let people know that you're from Russia right now, which is so stupid. Utrecht, Bora, and Almeida for EUAD Portugal. Sepp Kuss looking really good. Okay, let's take that out. Let's go now to let's go to the actual results, and we'll today, and we'll break these down just a little bit more, and then I'll give you my opinion of what I thought happened here. So, oops, I put it in the wrong spot. So having Vingegaard bothered me. Right? When he takes up the road, I was a little bit concerned about him going up the road, taking so much time from Sepp Kuss. And this is the battle you're going to see here now, right? And I get the picture. Now, after the stage, and you watch the interview with Vingegaard, he was very emotional. It's his daughter's birthday, and he dedicated the win to his daughter. He wanted to have this win for his daughter. And so he wanted to have the win today. He took off at 8 kilometers to go and then re-stuck it in there. And he did a good, solid climb all the way to the finish. I mean, that's nothing to shake a stick at. It's much more difficult for him being solo than all the others. It was interesting to see Sepp Kuss taking 30 seconds from him in a kilometer and a half, right? I mean, that's pretty good. Now, everybody came back to him in a sense. Also interesting how you can't fight the feeling of wanting to get away. Look at the distance that Sepp got over the guys behind him, which was Enric Mas and Ayuso Utrecht as an example. Not to Roglic, but to those ones. There's 8 seconds there, and actually that included the time bonus, so it might have been around 10 seconds or a little bit more. The problem you have there is that I think Roglic couldn't get away from them, and he ended up being a carrot for them to glom to. I understand what he wants to do here, but at some point he pulled those guys along. He pulled them along more than Sepp Kuss pulled along. And you kind of missed it here, but there was a point you can see Roglic attacking it. It's just inside a kilometer. So for that last kilometer, about 800 meters or so, Roglic was pulling that carrot, the rabbit up ahead of them for the guys behind. I don't know if that's such a great move, but he can't help it, because I think it's got to be a little bit frustrating for Roglic too. He comes into this, he's probably like, look, I am the man. Okay, maybe I have to fight with Jonas, but Jonas just came off of the Tour. He hasn't been racing so much. I won the Giro, but yet I've been preparing for this a lot more. Matter of fact, I don't even think he did World Championships. Did he? I don't know if he did him in the road race. I want to say no, because I think he was handing bottles off to Pogacar. So he even didn't do that, and he's kind of just, this is his race. So he's stuck in this place of now being behind Sepp. It's his teammate. He can't chase, but Sepp's in that place too with Vingegaard up the road today. But I think if Roglic had gone up, so the whole idea was Vingegaard attacks. That was the plan, they said. And then see how that, now what it did is it made the other riders chase Vingegaard, and especially him more than Roglic, I would imagine, because all of them are they're getting threatened. Their positions are getting threatened here, and so Vingegaard was far enough out where 225 or so, where he was threatening those other top guys' positions, maybe more than the others. So they did feel that they had to work. Plus, I just don't think he's as strong as Sepp Kuss or Roglic. So if Roglic had taken off, he might have gotten in the red jersey today. I mean, the way that they were having to play the game from behind, they didn't. So Vingegaard go up there. That's perfectly fine. It doesn't necessarily, the team has more to that. Now they're bunched up closer, but all together, and they're looking dominant to the point where you're going, is this going to be a 1, 2, 3? That'd be great. What'll be interesting the most though is let's say Sepp comes through this and he's just riding. He feels good. He doesn't really have bad days. Then there is literally no need for jumbo guys to be attacking. The reason Vingegaard attacked supposedly today was to draw the other rider that was, think about it. He takes off at 8 kilometers to go. Now you've got Mas, Utrecht, who else was up there? Moss, Ioso. They all are having to do work to try to get this guy back. And in the end, it fatigued them. Then Sepp can hit him with a hammer and go. They still had good times, but he's got a bigger gap on them, obviously, than to his own teammates. Why would you do that tomorrow? There's no one. Vingegaard's in third place. There's no one for him to attack. And do they chase third place? Does a Moss chase that down? So at this point, it will be very interesting to see how this team plays this. And if their egos could withstand it, if they're going to have this infighting. I technically, I would say, you know, if you're Jumbo, what's the point? You don't, unless one of those other guys is going up the road, then maybe you're going with them. But you are not going to be doing what you did today. There would be no need to do that. And so that will be a fantastic thing for them going forward, at least for us to see if that's going to be the case. Okay, here we are. Like we said, we'll do this little thing where it breaks it down on the GC. So we've got three stage wins by Jumbo, 3 different winners, and I think I hope it's a little bit of a scenario of things to come, which you're going to see 3 Grand Tour from Jumbo, all with different winners. Probably, I just want to see Sepp win. That's my goal here. Okay, Sepp Kuss, he's in the lead there. We can see that he lost 5, or he gained 5 seconds on Roglic, lost 38 to Vingegaard, and obviously put a hell of a bunch of time into everybody else. The biggest one being Remco Evenepoel, who drops way down into the 27-minute range, 28-minute range. Let's see if we can actually find him. Where is he at here? There he goes. He loses 16 places on the day. Pretty devastating. And with that, you see Soler down here now at 310. That's this is bonus here. I mean, you got Ayuso. None of these guys, I think, are going to be able. They don't have the ability to go long and kill you like Remco does. So I think for the most part, you know, Sepp and his whole team is looking really pretty good. Points doesn't change. KOM does, though. Vingegaard takes the lead, 36 points. So they'll be in the red and the polka dot jersey tomorrow. Sepp, though, 27 points still in here. Michael Storer, he's at 25. And you're probably going to see him starting to do some attacking here. The youth jersey goes to Ayuso, fully his this time. Uchebrecht, big revelation here. He's maybe the next Remco. I mean, they've been talking about him. Great race today for him. Tomorrow, got the Saturday race. It looks bad. I mean, this is another tough day. A Cat HC, and then a Cat 1 climb over the top here up to Lara Beluga. And it will be interesting to see with today's race, how it all shaped out, how with the weekend coming up, if this is even going to be a contested race among the GC. I think this may be one where you're going to have a breakaway get up the road, maybe a Dombrowski style, maybe Larry Warbass, at least as far as Americans go. Maybe Michael Storer trying to do something with his King of the Mountain jerseys. Maybe Remco if he comes back, or João Almeida. And if you see a João Almeida as an example, who's in 10th place now at 8 minutes back, makes a break and gets up in the move, that may shake enough things up, though, with the front group where they're just like, we're not letting that happen. Remco, he may go up there and win this thing outright. Victor says Sepp Kuss mountain jersey, red jersey, possibly, but I think the trouble you're going to have is unless it really shows that he is just the most exceptional rider out here. Jumbo is going to be starting to share victories. That's what's going to happen. And I don't know if Sepp Kuss just being in the red jersey is going to give that to him. It's not like the good old days you see with the Jumbo at the Tour, the Giro, where they line everything up and then one guy just goes off. This is a trio. This is the Holy Trinity, folks. It's just a little bit different. Luckily, they have Calderman, their whole team here. What's it? Trant. I'm going to go to, let's see if I can find it here. Where are we at? We're not going to do it right now. Kelderman, Hessink, Attila, who else is in there? Trantic, what is his name? Jan Ton. I can't remember how to say his name. It's a solid team, but you're basically having 3 guys and now 5 guys only to work for him. I think they need to turn Jonas into a worker. That's what should have happened today. I mean, today he attacked fine. Tomorrow, if the scenario plays out and you've got Hessink and then Kelderman is the last one, and you've got 8 kilometers to go, Jonas, you're in third place. Start spinning your wheels here and let's see what you can do to make sure that we're protected and we're not going to be attacked from all sides. Just the reality of the situation. But anyway, here's what we have tomorrow. It's a decent rate. Let's see if we can see this last climb. It's 9.4 at 6.3. It levels off the last 2 kilometers here. It goes to green from red, blue, red, black, blue. So it starts off okay, hits a pitch here in the 9s. Then it's in the 8s, a little dip in the 5% here, up to 7 again, and then levels off about 2% before we come over to the finish. So it's not an extraordinarily difficult climb, but if you're having a bad day, anything's possible. So that's what we have going tomorrow. And then Sunday, I see this as a breakaway day. It just, we're coming in, we've got the next week going up. Once again, you've split this. If this was tighter, you might not see that as much like you saw at the tour, but it'll be super interesting to see how the parties play this. I see this as another breakaway day. And then you got the Monday break, and then Tuesday, once again, kind of similar to what was at stage 11. And I could see that as a break too with those climbers, someone trying to hopefully get their up the road. But then here, the Angliru. This is where Angliru is going to be interesting. One is Sepp Kuss. If he's still feeling good, this is a great day for him to at least solidify even more. I mean, if you come through the Angliru and that's on Wednesday and you haven't lost anything to any of your rivals, if not even gained, then you've got one more day here, which is another. This race is ridiculous. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday. This then to me, once again, we counted these up. 10 category 3 climbs. Looks brutal, all in all. Last thing I'll say is, if you want Fox and Sons coffee, go to foxandsons.com. Put in the code review, receive 15% off. Orders of $25 or more, and drink coffee and enjoy them with me. That's all we have for today, folks. I hope you have a good weekend. Sepp Kuss, I'm a fanboy. I can't help it. And so it's going to be difficult for me to try to be, I'm trying to be objective on this as far as everything plays in. But once again, it'll be interesting. I mean, the team has got to, now, let's back up one more thing. Talk about Team Jumbo and would they prefer from a marketing standpoint? Because this has gone into play over and over with races. The sponsor wants someone to win. Greg LeMond, this happened famously with them in 86 when he battled out with Bernard Hinault. Certain people, maybe the owners want a certain rider to be winning. It seems like to me, if Sepp doesn't fumble it, that the team would want him to win for a few reasons. One, rewarding him. This isn't a guy that's been there like Marc Soler, who's caused problems. You watch the Netflix documentary and you're like, oh, this guy, yeah, he's a pain in the ass. He's causing problems. He seems to want it all for himself. I think it was Kelderman or Hessink I saw an interview with him, and he's like, I want Sepp to win. He's like, this is a guy who has never asked to be the team leader on any of these smaller races or insisted that they happen. He's like, everyone else would have done it well before him, and he hasn't done it. So I think the team is just like, now, is Jonas and Roglic feeling this way? I think Jonas feels this way because I'm just trying to read his interviews. Sepp has said both of them are helping him. The interviews with Roglic, though, are more interesting. He makes little jokes, not jabs at Sepp, but, little jokes, kind of like, oh, we couldn't ever win a tour without Sepp. Now, I don't know if that's just his mentality. I've heard Sepp talk about that in the team bus, that Roglic is just a firecracker of a joker all the time. So maybe that's the case, and we're just reading into things. But, the team is there to pounce. So you put one thing wrong, that team was going to know it probably before your rivals. And, and with that in mind, they may try to take you out. If it's a situation where if Sepp's faltering and the team sees that, there's like Roglic, he may take on and dig in there. So who knows? I've been enjoying it. The question, I guess, then is, can anybody from that group, that front group, do any damage? Can they do anything? Can they break into this thing and even tip the top three, or is it going to be a 1-2-3? Have you ever heard of a 1-2-3 from one team winning a Grand Tour? Now the questions are going to come about, oh, is this a doping situation? You look at Mape back in the day where they would sweep like Paris-Roubaix 1-2-3. I think the difference, let's just assume not, because Sepp is in the lead and it would say something. I mean, you just had this perfect shitstorm of good things to happen in a sense, which is Roglic does the Giro, he wins it. Looks good. Then he has plenty of time to prep for the Tour, for the Vuelta. Jonas comes in and wins the Tour and has enough time because they had World Championships in between. Remember, World Championships is usually after the Vuelta. He has time to prep for this, and he's not quite on top form. Then you have Sepp Kuss. For some ungodly reason, he's just firing on all cylinders. Remco blows himself out today. João Almeida blows himself out today. Geraint Thomas crashes, a bunch of times, and he's blown out as well. So now you've got literally, typically, if it would, Sepp hadn't have gotten that front stage and gotten that win, he wouldn't even be in this mix because he'd be like, oh, sweet, I'm just doing my work. So he's put himself into there by them allowing a 40-man break to get up the road and for him to just easily win. I would say easily, but come on paper. Winning stage 6. And so now you're in a situation where it looks super dominant, but you've got two of the best riders in the world, Roglic and Vingegaard, in this race, riding well and motivated. And then you've just got Sepp Kuss, who's put in this situation, and you don't think he's motivated now? There's no one that is more motivated in this race than Sepp Kuss because of the situation that he's been in. And so, God forbid anything bad happens. But that's the place we're at right now. So, once again, it will be interesting to see if anything else comes of that. That is all we have for today, folks. Appreciate you coming in, hanging out with me. Hope you have a good weekend. And until tomorrow, may the force be with you. I don't know. May something be with you, September.